it could have been the case that Mary had children with Saint Joseph,
Right.
and that's that. Absolutely true. But we say it's important to get it right,
Right.
and that she didn't have any children. She never had sexual relations. She was a perpetual virgin. The importance of this, though it's not essential, as you quite rightly imply,
Yeah.
the importance of it is that we have put virginity at a very high level.
Yeah.
Hence we have monks and nuns and priests of
Yeah.
celibacy. It's at a very high level because one devotes oneself entirely to God as opposed to one's wife or husband.
Yeah.
And this is important because you, I and Michael will know that we can desire women, we can be sexually, activated by a girl in a bathing costume.
Yeah.
And to resist that is resisting the wall of the flesh and the devil.
Yeah.
And resisting the very kind of sins that really gnaw a person and can lead them away from God. So the perpetual virginity issue is kind of wrapped up in that. Mary was the one who totally devoted herself to God, and nothing about her body was to be given to anybody else. Her body was entirely God's and entirely for Christ alone.
Right, but because what they're saying is that somehow she made the vow. So where does
There's a
that come?
tradition that she made a vow. It's not in Scripture.
Right.
It's not in Scripture, but it's implied in that, and you can say it's not implied, but it's a possibility it's implied in her saying to the angel, when he says you'll have a child, and she says, but how can that be? Well, you think the angel Gabriel would say, look girl, you know how babies are made, but obviously she's not stupid. When she said, how can that be? It must be because there was something that meant she wouldn't have a husband, and she wasn't expecting to have a child.
Yeah.
It's like it's implied she made a vow that she was never going to have a kid, and God knew this. So when the angel says, you're going to have a kid, she said, how? And of course the angel says, well, actually, it's not going to be with a man. It's going to be by the Spirit descending upon you.
Yeah.
So that's the actual deduction from when she says, how can that be? But what I want to say is, to be fair, it doesn't mean that's a correct interpretation, because it isn't expressly said in Scripture. So a person's free to say, no, we don't agree with that.
Yeah.
The only reason to really accept it is if one accepts the power of the Catholic Church to teach the truth.
Right.
Because it's only then that you say, oh yeah, I accept it. If you don't believe in the power of the Catholic Church to teach the truth, then you're kind of speculating on what that verse of Scripture means, and you can speculate this way or speculate that way, and come to your own conclusions by your own goodwill.
Yeah. So I don't know what you think, because one thing that James mentioned, I know, well, Sam was unhappy about it, was about
right.
the first mention of it was in some Gnostic writings, and apparently some
right.
Catholic scholars did quote those Gnostic writings.
Okay, first thing is, I know they had that discussion. I didn't get time to watch it. I might, now you talk to me, it might get my going to go and look at it, because Shamoon has a massive turn output, doesn't he? Every day he's turning out loads of stuff. So I want to get to look at that, particularly now you've spoken to me. It may be that it's in a Gnostic writing. I did pick up that somewhere, so maybe it's in one of the titles of the documents, but that says to me, that doesn't make it false, because the Gnostics can pick up real historical information. The problem with Gnostic writing, as in any uninspired text, is to work out how much is just being made up by these Gnostics, and how much is actually genuinely picking up from historical information. And that's the trick, and it's hard to know. But to me, it wouldn't matter if it was just in, if it was the earliest thing it was in was a Gnostic document. In itself, it wouldn't matter. What matters to me is there any solid basis for saying Mary was a perpetual virgin? I would say we can't say it without the Catholic Church affirming it and us accepting the Catholic Church's authority to affirm it. But there are indications, like we discussed about Mary saying to the angel, how can it be? And the fact that for example, St. John, I don't know whether this comes up in that talk you looked at, but St. John is at the foot of the cross, and Jesus gives Mary into his possession. Whereas he should have given her into the possession of one of her other children, if there were other children.
I think James White mentioned.
And also, we have the brothers of Jesus, the Adelphoi, in the Gospels, but the only ones that I mentioned, James, Jude, Simon, and Joseph. But they're seen as children of the other Mary, Mary Clopas, elsewhere in Matthew's Gospel. I think Matthew 13 and Matthew 27. I do get mixed up. And so, but there are no other children expressly said to be children of the Blessed Virgin Mary.
Oh, I was just going to say, James White did say something about that.
Because they talked about brothers of Jesus, but not children of Mary. Nobody said to be a child of Mary other than Jesus, and that's a fascinating point. And I just would have thought that if there were family members who were that close, children of the Blessed Virgin, they somehow would get a mention in the Gospels, but they don't as children of Mary. That phrase. But anyway, what does Jimmy White say?
No, I was saying he said that that if they're only brothers, but in terms of just relatives,
Yeah.
then why is it they seem to be following her so much? That's what he was saying.
Okay. Firstly,
Or rather than their own family members.
there's tradition that some of them were apostles and others weren't. Because we have obviously a James, we have two Jameses, and we have Judas Iscariot, but St. Jude as well. So, there's two names. I would say Simon is not the same as Simon the Zealot. And Joseph is not an apostle. He is another cousin of Jesus. But there's absolutely no reason, therefore, why they shouldn't be in Jesus' circle, moving around, some of them with him.
But you're saying that the fact they're following Mary, because remember the time when...
I see, when they come because they say he's gone mad, and you're like... Well, they would be, they're part of the family. This isn't a Middle Eastern family. They're like an extended family. They'll sometimes go together to certain places to get hold of Jesus if they think he's gone astray. But what I just emphasise is that Mary was not saying he went astray. She was with them, but not of them, in this task to try and stop Jesus preaching.
Yeah. So you believe that they were relatives of someone known of Mary, or they were? Because some other people say they're Joseph's former children from.
Yeah, that's another tradition. These traditions aren't fixed in stone.
Right.
My belief is that James, Joseph, Judas, and Simon were sons of Mary Clopas, who was the wife of a man called Alphaeus. Yeah. Alphaeus was the blood brother of Saint Joseph.
Yeah.
So, since Joseph was not the actual father of Jesus, those four lads are not physical relations of Jesus. They're relations by a legal relationship, because Joseph is the actual brother of Alphaeus.
Right.
But Joseph is not the blood father of Jesus. So that's their relationship to me. But others can say other things, like, as you suggested, that maybe Joseph had other kids by another marriage.
That's normally seems to be the most popular one.
It's okay. I mean, I can't be, we Catholics, we're dogmatic about all sorts of things, but we're not dogmatic about that.
Yeah.
One can make one's own view based on what tradition says, or one can simply be agnostic about it and say, well, we don't know. But what we are dogmatic about is that she had no other kids, the Blessed Virgin.
Right.